Hey guys, I want to start this video off by saying that I will probably not be able to upkeep my daily schedule, right? Because I simply don't have any content to cover anymore. I talked about every single aspect of this game, about every single character. I just simply don't know what to do anymore, as I covered everything about this game multiple times by now. So if you would have an idea or have anything you would want me to talk about more, anything you want me to cover, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. I would really appreciate that. If I can cover what you tell me to cover, I will definitely do so, but I'm not able to cover every single thing. For example, I got hit up by someone to showcase the impromptu lineup, which I did twice, but he wanted me to showcase how this goes with Matilda in it, and I cannot do that because I don't have the impromptu lineup, so I cannot record footage for it and showcase everything in the way I would want to, you know? So yeah, anyways, you want me to cover something, please leave a comment about it in the comment section down below, and I will do so to the best of my ability. But now let's talk about the portrait selector that we will obtain in version 2.8. Of course, there are a lot of characters to choose from here in this selector, so if you first look at it, it might seem a little bit underwhelming. But you can establish some rules as to how you look at it. The first thing that you should be aware of is that when it comes to Reverse 1999, the power creep that every game suffers from that releases new characters, right? But in Reverse 1999, this power creep is mostly shown in portraits. That means that quote-unquote older characters, even when they receive their Euphoria updates, their portraits are not it anymore, at least for the most part. So you would want to aim, if you look for portraits, at a relatively new character, as they tend to have better portraits in like 90% of the cases. Let me make that number up. It's gonna be more than 90% if we would really dive into the mathematics here. But anyways, right, that's the first rule. Look at newer characters for the most part and ignore older characters. Like, you would never want a portrait for like Lilia or Druvis, for example, you know. I think that is kind of self-explanatory though. The second thing that you should of course look at is what character has how much value. Is this character actually part of the meta? Is this character high tier in the tier lists? And is this character played in one of the best teams in the game? And of course, do I even play this character in one of my teams? How much do I use a character, right? Of course, you would not get a portrait for a character that you barely even play, but I still wanted to mention that real quick. Okay, with that out of the way, you have to now know a lot of things. But guess what? You don't actually have to know that. And you know why you don't have to know that? Because we have a database. So join the Discord server, take a look at the database. And in our database, we show you for every single character in this game what portrait is the recommended value and where the characters power spike the most. That's how you know what portrait for a character you should need. Let's jump into some examples here. We have established that we want to look at newer characters if we are looking for portraits. And what immediately jumps to mind and what immediately should catch your eye here is Ulrich, of course. Ulrich is brand new, released in version 2.8. Everyone has him, everyone will play him. Because yeah, you gotta play the Dynamo team, right? I mean, for sure. That's a very, very good value. Ulrich is a powerhouse. That is an S tier character that is played and irreplaceable in the second best team in the entire game. And you are guaranteed to have him, and he's brand new. That means he will have good portraits. Boom. There you go. Ulrich is already a very, very good choice to obtain a portrait for. Then there are characters where it gets a little bit more tricky. Let's take like Willow and Tuesday, for example, as they are in the same ballpark when it comes to these things. Tuesday, let's go with Tuesday for this example, but Willow is not much different. So Tuesday is a pretty old character. When she released, her release date is quite a while ago, right? It feels like she's in this game forever. That's how long ago it is. Now, I told you that these quote-unquote older characters, they have outclassed portraits and their portraits are power crept. Tuesday is one of the very, very few examples where this is not true. Tuesday is still an absolute must-play character in the Poison team. Without Tuesday, you can't play Poison. Poison is still a pretty strong team. It's still in the top 10 best teams in the game. It's around rank 7 now. So that is very, very respectable. And Tuesday also, on top of all of this, has very, very good portraits. And she excels and power creeps, or power spikes, not power creeps, power spikes at portrait number 3. That means that if you play Poison with Tuesday and Willow, and you have a Tuesday or a Willow at portrait number 2, then you should definitely 100% get the portrait 3 for Tuesday or Willow, because this is where these two characters power spike, and that's the biggest value, right? If again, they are so valuable, they are irreplaceable, they have a must play spot in a very, very strong team in the game. They are the DPS characters and they have very, very good portraits, and portrait 3 is recommended for these characters. Again, go to our database and there you will find out everything for every single character and what portrait you should obtain for these characters. That will make your choice much, much easier. Then, of course, another rule of thumb is that the best thing that you can usually do when it comes to obtaining portraits is to look at main DPS characters, such again as Willow, or even Baccarola is in this. You see the impromptu lineup, that is the number 3 best team in the entire game, and Baccarola is the main DPS for this team. If you now go and look at Baccarola's portraits, then you will realize that all of her portraits, they do not only increase the damage that Baccarola herself does, but they increase in fact the damage output for the entire impromptu team as a whole. Extremely high value, you know. Main DPS, one of the best teams in the game. Good portraits, boom. And it's also a newer character. She's not too old, and therefore her portraits are not too much hit by the power creep. And yeah, like you know, you can keep this going forever. There's Noir. Let's talk about Noir. Noir as well. Noir is, all things considered, a pretty mediocre character because she's outclassed mainly by Recoleta, right? But if you have Noir at portrait, again, number 3, she turns into an absolute berserker, because now she is guaranteed to use her ultimate one more time. Then without portrait 3, she's not guaranteed to do that. So every time you use your ult, you have one more ult added on top of that. That is crazy good, and that's why, yeah, Noir is a mediocre character, but that changes when you have her at portrait number 3. And this is the stuff that you just have to know, right? I told you now the rules that, yeah, don't look at old characters, prefer characters that have a good spot in a good team, that are high tier, and preferably even main DPS characters. Now we can look at the character that again is a little bit of an outsider, a little bit excluded from all these rules, because Flutterpage exists. Flutterpage is in one of the best teams in the game, is a staple, unreplaceable. She is a very, very high tier character. She's A tier. And yeah, also kind of slottable, but you want to play her in the Fallout team, of course, right? That's what she excels at, that's her place. And now, if you again go to our database and you will see what portrait we recommend. That is portrait number 1. That is a portrait that if you have Flutter page for P0, get a portrait for Flutter page and you do absolutely fine, because now her AP plus doesn't last for 1 but for 2 rounds instead. That is super valuable. You literally get 2 incantations out of just 1. That is incredible, and the effect AP plus 1 is very beneficial, so that is a extremely high value portrait here as well. Okay, now you have a very good idea of, hey, what is the thought process, what are some of the characters that I should look at here. But let's go over the entire list and mention every character that has a portrait that would be worth getting. Of course, if you look at this list here, Flutter page, very good. Ulrich, very good choice to get a portrait for. If you have characters like these 2, for example, hey, should I get I have both. I have Ulrich, he's free, and I have Flutter page. Now, what portrait should I get? That's a very good question. That depends on, of course, since we talk about Flutter page, you have to look at your specific team that you play Flutter page in. Is it the best in slot follow-up team around Fatutu, Jiunyangje and Pickles? If you play this team, that is when you can consider getting this portrait for Flutter page. And how often do you play this team? Is this team that you play Flutter page in what you default to for most of the content? Is this your main team? Yes or no? And you have to also, since Flutter page here, in our example, battles with Ulrich, you have to consider, hey, do I have Lucy? Do I have Ezra? And then I play Ulrich in this team, right? Now, do I have Mercuria or do I have Muldia? If the answer here is no, then Flutter page is already a better portrait to consider for you specifically. But look in the future. Are you 100% going to pull for Sharon? How many Unilogs do you have now? Are you 100% guaranteed to get that Sharon into your Dynamo lineup in the future? If the answer is yes, now you have the best team that is possible for Flutter page, and you have the best team that is possible for Ulrich, right? Now the next question that you have to ask yourself is, what role are these characters fulfilling? They are both irreplaceable, but Ulrich is the sub DPS, Flutter page is the support. Therefore, Ulrich is here to mainly deal damage, right? Now in this specific case, this is also the case for Flutter page. That's a problem. But it isn't, because now if you have for both characters have the absolute perfect scenario to play them in, then look at the tier list. Ulrich is higher in the tier list, and that's why you get the portrait for Ulrich. Even if the Flutter page portrait, if you compare P1 Flutter page to P1 Ulrich, then yeah, the P1 for Flutter page would have more value. That is negated though, because Ulrich is the better character. He deals more damage, he is in a better team. Therefore, you still get a portrait for Ulrich, as you will have more value out of it. That's as easy as it goes. So we now finally, let's go over the list and name every character real quick that would be worth getting a portrait for. Flutter page, of course, Ulrich, of course, Voyager, of course, sub DPS for the third best team in the game. Remember, will you replace Voyager with Regulus? Yes or no? Depending on your answer, you either get a portrait one for Regulus or for Voyager, depending on who you play in that team. Easy as that, right? Then, yeah, let's go down further the list. Marcus, don't get a portrait for her. Even if you build a new rank up team, that's not gonna be worth it. Because again, Marcus is too old, her portraits do not have the value that you should have. Semmelweis in the best team in the game, sub DPS. 1 year old, don't get a portrait for her. If you aim for portraits for the Blood Tide team, that should go to, of course, Nautica. Now Nautica is not in the selector, so yeah, still get your portraits elsewhere. Trust me, the portrait for Semmelweis is not worth it. That's my favorite character in the game, so I know what I'm talking about here very, very well. Then, yeah, let's go down the list. What else do we have here? Mercuria. Now, Mercuria is also super, super valuable. Yeah, so consider getting a portrait for Mercuria if you play her. Or you will play her in the Dynamo team for the time being. Maybe you don't even pull for Sharon, but you keep Mercuria in there, right? Point is, Mercuria, very, very high value when it comes to all of her portraits. Then Tuesday Willow, we mentioned only if the portrait that you would obtain for these characters is portrait number 3, otherwise don't go for them. Then yeah, Baccarola, main DPS, third best team in the game, get her portrait, absolutely recommended. Noah, only if, same reason, same ballpark as Tuesday and Willow, only if that would be portrait number 3. Then those portraits have an incredible amount of, a ridiculously high amount of value. And there you go. Those were everything that I wanted to talk about when it comes to this 5-star selector in version 2.8. That's it for the video, guys. Remember to tell me what to cover next in the comment section down below, please. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.